Hello, welcome to our next GK Beginning Band video. Today we're going to be working with the flute and we're going to be playing page 7, numbers 8 through 11. We're still using our first three notes, which is our D, our C, and our B flat. We're going to introduce the half note as well as the half rest and talk about the breath mark. Number 8, a breath of fresh air. You're going to play a whole note on the D, take a breath, and then play another whole note D. The apostrophe above the first measure, it looks like an apostrophe, it also looks like a comma, is called a breath mark, and that means you will take a breath. Try to avoid taking the flute away from your mouth. Keep the flute in its proper position, the tongue with the lip here on the embouchure plate. Okay, we're going to take a nice deep breath, and we're going to play number 8, a breath of fresh air. 1, 2, ready. One, two, three. 2, 3. Notice I don't have to count after the last note because the double bar line comes after the whole note. And number 9, side by side, I'll now be taking a breath in between whole notes. This time I'll change notes. So I'll change from the D to the C. Now to change from the D to the C, it's going to be advantageous for us to keep the fingers nice and close so that when we go from the D to the C, all the fingers have to do is simply drop down onto the keys they're supposed to be over. And again, if you're having trouble remembering where your keys are supposed to be or where your fingers are supposed to be, I've kept my little torn up post-it notes on the keys, and I recommend you try doing the same. Alright, number 9, side by side. 1, 2, ready. One, two, three. One, two, three. Again, we've talked about this in previous lessons, but notice that the notes, or the fingers that are down for the C, are up for the D. The fingers that are up for the D are down for the C. I think I said that kind of backwards, but you'll notice that the fingers work in opposition to one another. My first finger and my pinky are down for the C. Everything else comes down, and those two fingers come up. Number 10. 2 by 2. We're going to try playing a similar pattern of whole notes, breaths, and another whole note. This time we're going to start on C. The last two measures we'll be doing a skip we haven't done before. We're going from D down to the B flat. Here we go. Number 10. 1, 2, ready. 1, 2, 3. One, two, three. Now when you move from one fingering to the next, I almost had a little trouble there, going from D to B flat. My fingers didn't move in tandem with one another. Make sure your fingers are all moving together. That will make it much easier to get the next note. The last one we're going to try on this page is number 11, half the price. We're introduced to the half note. If you look up at the top of your page on page 7, you'll see that a half note is worth 2 counts in 4/4 time. A half rest is also worth 2 counts in 4/4 time. We're going to play a half note, Then go into the next measure, play a half note, and then take 2 counts rest on the half rest. It's going to sound like this. Notice that I took one big breath and kept going all the way through, using my tongue to re-articulate the note while not stopping the air. If we stop the air, it sounds like this. And if we're not using the tongue, it's going to sound like this. Kind of a foo sound as opposed to a tu sound that we'd like to start on the flute. I'm going to play number 11, half the price. 1, 2, ready. Three. 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 Notice the last 2 measures, the pattern changes from the pattern of the first 6 measures. We have a half note followed immediately by a half rest and then a whole note. Make sure you get a nice big breath of air before you try those half notes. That's the assignment for this week. Numbers 8 through 11 on the top of page 7. Have fun practicing your flute this week.